While the world will long remember the 60s for the counterculture and social revolution, the decade was also the foundation of numerous technological innovations, including the U.S. landing the first man on the moon. The first industrial robot was used in manufacturing. The transatlantic satellite and computer video game were invented. The computer mouse, video conferencing, email, hypertext, and the prototype of the internet were all developed in the 60s. The world's first successful mini-computers and supercomputers were introduced by major U.S. computer companies, including Control Data Corporation. In fact, Jabil's entry into the electronics industry was spurred by a Control Data sales executive, James Golden, who needed a source for replacement circuit boards. He met William E. Morian, and the two formed a company to build these replacement boards for Control Data. They combined parts of their first names, James and Bill, and named it Jabil Circuit. They began manually assembling circuit boards at the Morian home just outside of Detroit, Michigan. Outsourcing was still a new concept in the 60s, but many brand-name electronic companies leveraged contract manufacturers during times of peak demand. Jabil was a pioneer in developing and growing outsourcing as a viable, sustainable business model. The 70s were famous for bell-bottoms and disco, but it was also an era of economic struggle and cultural change, much of which was colored by the Vietnam War. Beyond the war, the 70s erupted from a technological standpoint. Motorola introduced the first handheld mobile phone, Microsoft and Apple were created, and Intel introduced the single-chip microprocessor. Jabil was also investing in its growing technological capabilities, using its first line of credit to outfit the factory floor with automated insertion equipment. In 1979, Bill Morian, the son of Jabil's founder, took ownership, and his dream big attitude took the company to an entirely new level.
I've always been amazed at the outcome. So, and I did have a vision when I was really young. I wanted us to be better at manufacturing than our customers.
In 1979, Jabil was awarded its largest piece of business to date, a $15 million contract with General Motors' AC Delco division, working on transmission speed sensor controllers. This win put Jabil on the map, and the move into high-volume, turnkey production for General Motors transformed Jabil's strategy from manual production into advanced automated assembly. The 80s brought about great socioeconomic change due to advances in technology and the beginning of globalization. Thanks to the dramatic shrinking of the silicon chip, computers significantly shrunk in size and quickly flooded into our homes. The IBM PC became the dominant computer for professional users. Apple introduced the Macintosh computer, the first commercially successful personal computer. Also during the 80s, Sony and Philips introduced the first CD players, and the first GPS satellites were placed into orbit. And Jabil continued to expand. The company ushered in the first of many design projects, the Corvette LCD display panel. While still maintaining a presence in Michigan, Jabil moved its headquarters to St. Petersburg, Florida in 1983. Jabil continued to develop its customer-centric business unit model, which became an important differentiator for the company. Technologically, Jabil was also making moves. The company invested in newly developed surface mount technology, or SMT. This was a game changer and would transform the electronics manufacturing industry.
We used the emergence of the new surface mount technology as a vehicle to be able to get in front of our customers' technological abilities, and successfully did that. From that point on is about being able to you mature it, refine it, set the platform for what came after that.
The 1990s were a pivotal decade for Jabil and the world. The internet became available for unrestricted commercial use, and the number of home computers increased to 1 million, which skyrocketed internet traffic. The tech boom of the 90s also brought about the introduction of the web browser, the first in-car navigation system, and Bluetooth was announced. Jabil boomed as well. In 1993, we expanded internationally into Scotland. Jabil added many global customers, including Cisco, HP, Motorola, and NEC. We had our initial public offering on NASDAQ, which was no small feat for a company trying to convince potential investors that outsourcing was a viable business model.
The degree of evangelism that it took just to be able to do basic business, to be able to convince people that, yeah, this radical taboo idea that you ought not use your own manufacturing facilities is actually a better business practice. That was considered just crazy talk back then.
As the world became more global, more and more companies were choosing outsourcing, and Jabil continued to grow. And as we grew globally, our culture became more defined, and concepts such as empowerment, ingenuity, and adaptability became vitally important to the company. During the 90s, the products Jabil manufactured became more complex, and the company was now building high-capacity disk drive electronics, inkjet printers, subassemblies for digital cellular telephones, and automotive instrumentation electronics. During the decade, Jabil also acquired 2 of HP's manufacturing locations and continued our greenfield expansion, landing us in 8 countries by the end of the decade. In 1998, Jabil moved from NASDAQ to the New York Stock Exchange and began trading under JBL. As the go-go days of the 90s came to an end, annual revenue reached $1 billion for the first time. But change was in the air. In 1999, Jabil President Tom Sansone retired, and in 2000, CEO Bill Morian did as well. Tim Main was appointed president when Sansone retired and was named CEO when Bill Morian stepped down.
When I took over as CEO, we were at the peak of the internet build-out. It was just going great guns. There's never going to be an end to all this internet stuff. It's going to be great. And it was great, but it had hyperinflated and just crashed and burned. We're going to survive. Maybe we have to do some diversification.
And as the 21st century began, that's exactly what Jabil did. The company entered into industries such as instrumentation, healthcare, clean tech, and defense and aerospace. Jabil was now manufacturing products such as semiconductor test devices, blood glucose monitors, solar panels, as well as flight instrumentation and radar systems.
I think it goes back to that resiliency issue where you've got a culture that's deeply rooted and that's competitive, yet it still has patience for people to develop. I think that allows you to do the right thing, change gears, re-engineer, take risks into new areas.
During the 2000s, Jabil continued to focus on expanding our capabilities and footprint, and also diversifying our customer base. By 2005, Jabil had 40,000 employees worldwide, and we ranked 199 on the Fortune 500 list. Part of our growth came from significant acquisition activity that expanded our capabilities outside of circuit board assemblies. We purchased 9 Philips consumer electronic plants, the medical operations of Varian. We expanded into optoelectronics design through the acquisition of Cypro Optics. And in 2007, we acquired Taiwan Greenpoint, a state-of-the-art plastics and metals manufacturer. Jabil exited the first decade of the 2000s with locations in 20 countries and revenue at the $12 billion mark. The company was positioned for the coming technological innovations that would radically change how people live. In 2010, the first iPad was launched. Wireless mobility now allowed consumers to access the internet from almost anywhere on the planet. Internet stocks boomed, and cloud computing became part of our lexicon. Wearable technology was introduced and became part of people's lives and their wardrobes. Motion control and 3D television entered the marketplace, and that was just the beginning. In 2013, Jabil continued to expand its capabilities with the acquisition of Nipro, a leading healthcare plastics and consumer product packaging company. Also in 2013, Chief Operating Officer Mark Mandello was named the 3rd Chief Executive Officer in the company's history.
There is a ton going on, lots of moving parts. I think that's the world we live in, and if you're not adaptable, if you're not resilient, if you can't continue to transform in our business, you're not going to be around very long. I think Jabil is as flexible, as adaptable, and as resilient as any company I've ever been part of or I've dealt with.
Today, Jabil has 180,000 employees across 28 countries at over 100 locations. We ship $50 to $60 million of product out of the company every single day. And Jabil has taken our mantra of engineering growth in a world of change to a whole new level. To showcase Jabil's global capabilities, in 2015, we opened the Blue Sky Center in San Jose, California. At the forefront of Jabil's technological efforts, the Blue Sky Center displays some of the world's cutting-edge technologies, such as factory of the future capabilities like automation, as well as product design, intelligent digital supply chain, the Internet of Things, and more. Going forward, the speed of change will continue to accelerate. By the end of the decade, driverless cars will be even closer to reality. Nearly 30% of the world's energy will be generated by renewable sources. 1 in 10,000 households will own a robot. 13% of U.S. households will own consumer drones. Digitization is gaining momentum faster than any trend in history. The personal cloud market could be worth $90 billion by 2020, and about 40 billion things will be connected to the internet by 2020.
I imagine we'll find our way into new industries, new technologies that the management team today is pursuing a strategy of diversification and participation in new industries and new capabilities. Capability building is a big part of what they're doing.
Jabil continues to partner with some of the most inventive companies in the world to bring next-generation innovations to market and help our customers win in the digital economy. We are leading the way for things that have not even been imagined yet. We look forward to both adapting to and solving those challenges, as we have done over Jabil's first 50 years.
And the next 50 years, I think it'll blow people's minds what we'll continue to do from a diversity standpoint. It's going to be the same drive, the same tenacity, the same resiliency, yet we'll be in spaces that we can't imagine.